Now this would be the 2024 Hyundai Kona, which is much bigger than the last one. I want to get to that right off the jump. There is about 3 inches more rear seat legroom because the wheelbase has been stretched about 2.5 inches, and that is very significant. It was one of my big sticking points with the first gen Kona. It was just so cramped. Honestly, I could not even sit in the back seat, especially not with the driver's seat in my seating position. But this one is just way better. There's also a good amount of headroom in here. Even with my hat on and this sunroof, I don't feel cramped. Just an excellent job overall of responding to a segment that has grown both in the number of offerings as well as the vehicles themselves. These subcompact crossovers have gotten much bigger. Not just the Volkswagen Taos, the Kia Seltos, this thing's corporate cousin, was much roomier. This thing actually has just a little bit more rear seat legroom than the Seltos, so that is a huge step in the right direction. Now, everything else, well, it does feel sort of familiar when you take a look at the powertrains. This one I'm driving is the N-Line, so it has the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that the last one had. It makes 190 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, and that is more than enough. Now, the cool thing this year, the 7-speed dual clutch transmission, that is gone. That thing was a little bit clunky, pretty typical of those things, especially really low in the rev range. When you were just sort of rolling away from a stop, it could feel like it was kind of sputtering and shuddering a little bit. This has an 8-speed conventional automatic, and it is just way smoother. It pairs really well with this engine. A really good powertrain. This one does have all-wheel drive. Now, some of the lower trims, they come in front-wheel drive, and then all-wheel drive is a $2,000 option. The engine there, same as before. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder, no turbocharger. It makes 147 horsepower and 132 pound-feet of torque. There is not one of those here for me to drive, but I'm going to imagine it's going to feel just about the same. What does feel different, again, getting back to this stretched wheelbase, it just makes it feel that much smoother out here on the open roads, a little more forgiving, not as choppy. I really like that. And then getting to this interior, it's pretty stunning. Now this again is the N-Line, so it's got some red accents, some Alcantara, faux suede seats, but I really do like it. I also like the simplicity in here. You've got these big buttons, clearly labeled, knobs for volume and tune, these little toggles for the HVAC system. It's very well laid out, super approachable. So is this infotainment system. It's a 12.3-inch touchscreen. It's very good. This one has wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Now, if you get the ultimate package on top of this N-Line, which adds about $3,000, one of the things it comes with is built-in navigation, but that means both of those phone connections are wired. So that is something to keep in mind. But the rest of the lineup, I have been assured, has wireless phone connections, and that is awesome. You can also have multiple phones paired in here, and you just select which one you want. That to me is something that's missing from a lot of vehicles out there. So it is very handy in here if you're swapping back and forth between you and your partner. You don't have to disconnect their phone, hook up yours, especially on a road trip. Just toggle which one you want to have connected. Everything else, just about what you'd expect. The only sticking point for me is the pricing. This thing is significantly more expensive than the first gen Kona. So it starts at $25,999 or something like that. You've got to add a couple grand for destination, of course, but that's a few $1,000s more expensive than the outgoing version. And the same is true throughout the lineup, all the way up to this one I'm driving. Again, the N-Line. It's a few grand more than the one it replaces. And that was really the competitive advantage that the Kona had over a lot of its peers. Now, of course, it's bigger, so it's kind of closed that gap a little bit. But the pricing, it is in line with most of its major competitors. But again, that is just one advantage that it no longer has. But I am happy to report that it has all the space that you could ever ask for in a subcompact crossover.